So the organizations that we've been working with contribute to democracy in lots of different ways. Some of them will make these contributions in one way or another, or some of them actually do some combination of all of them. And what makes, the things I'm going to talk about are not necessarily unique in and of themselves, but what makes them unique is the way that these organizations do them. Again, it comes from their deep commitment to working very closely with their communities and working very hard to develop leadership that's very grounded in communities and helping people to take up their own leadership. And so one of the important ways is really fostering civic participation. So one of the key ways that these organizations foster civic engagement is really through developing bottom-up approaches to civic participation that really emphasize self-determination among their communities. This work has been called schools of democracy. So these kinds of organizations provide schools of democracy where people learn about democratic participation in very deep and meaningful ways by actually engaging it and learning along the way. Another key way that social change organizations can foster democracy is by creating a context in which community values and social values can be expressed so that efforts to do political change or efforts to provide services are very much grounded in the values that a particular community expresses. So for example, one of the organizations that we've worked with has focused on developing housing in a local community, and because they wanted to make sure that housing stayed affordable, they created a model of housing where there would be some communal ownership over the property while people would own their homes privately. And so these kinds of values can be expressed through the work that the organization is doing. And some of these values can be faith-based or they can be secularly based. It really depends on what the community is all about. Another important way these organizations can contribute to democracy is through social entrepreneurship. Typically, social entrepreneurship is understood as market-based mechanisms for doing social change. But what we think as one of the most important characteristics of social entrepreneurship is really innovation. So our colleagues here at the Reynolds program at NYU Wagner have defined social entrepreneurship as pattern-breaking work. And we see this happening in the organizations that we've been studying. They're really trying to change the way we think about social issues in radical ways, and which allow for very different kinds of solutions to be brought about that are very connected to this idea of working closely with constituents to enhance the community's own self-determination about which direction it's going to take in the work that they're doing. And finally, some of the organizations that we've been working with have enhanced democracy through providing social services. This is not something we typically think of as a democratic role, but again, they're doing it in a way that is deeply connected to the self-determination of the communities that they're working with, and really developing leadership from within their communities to address service in ways that are very grounded in local perspectives. One of the key ways that service delivery is related to democracy is that it's usually approached by these organizations as a way to find a balance between addressing people's short-term needs with long-term goals of social transformation.